this product is a homemade hairdressing kit made up of an electric hair clipper, a pair of scissors, a comb, a brush, a plastic cape, in everything in a leather case. Uh, okay, we have on this set a plastic layer that is classified in heading 39, 26, a leather case that is classified in heading 4202, some scissors there, they are classified in heading 8213, an electric machine to the right side of the picture, which is classified under heading 8510, brush or who's classified what is classified in the heading 9603, you see in there, and a comb that is in the heading 9615. Among these different options, it is determined that the electric hair cutting machine 8510 is the one that confer the essential character, since its function or role that this product has within the set is the most consistent with the purpose of the set, which is to to cut hair, and also its value is usually the highest among the items that make it up. So in this kit, the product that gives it the essential character is the electric clipper hair, and therefore the set is classified in its heading 8510. Now, when rules 3A and 3B cannot be applied, the merchandise must be used the following, the classification process must be used the following rule, the rule 3C, which indicates that the merchandise will be classified in the last item on the last position in order of numbering among those susceptible to be reasonably taken into account. Remember, the method only applies if it's not possible to classify by the methods of the rule A, 3A, and 3B. At this point, you have to be very careful because this method lasts in numerical order. When someone is starting is a beginner, when you are just starting to classify merchandise, you have the tendency, because it is very easy to apply, there is a tendency to use it without doing the previous analysis. Due to the rush to solve the classification problems, so you tend to go through the previous methods very quickly and discarding them because they are a little more complex to apply, and you want to quickly reach this method, which is very easy to use since it only consists of choosing the last heading of subheading in numerical order. But the truth is that this method, rule 3C, in practice at the user level is very rarely used, since it is very difficult to support legally and lends itself to a lot of suspicion from customs authorities. So we must be very careful if you decide to use it. And even if we get to the case of applying rule 3 with the method of letter A and B, it is possible in practice get most of the classification for our merchandises. Despite of rule 3C is rarely used in practice. Let's see an example. The product we have for this example is described as eyebrow grooming kit. This set consists on 3 brown grooming tools, tweezers and scissors, both made of stainless steel, and a plastic spoolie brush with nylon bristles. They all come in a fitted polyurethane pouch. GRI 3A state that the heading which provide the most specific description shall be preferred to headings providing a more general description. However, when two or more headings refer to a part only of the items in a composite wood, those headings are to be regarded as equally specific in relation to the goods, even if one of them give a more complete or precise description of the good. As such, they are regarded as equally specific, and classification of the composite good is to be determined by GRI B or GRI C. Sorry, GR3B or GR3C, taken in the appropriate order in which they are set out in GRI3. General Rule of Interpretation 3V state in part that composite goods which cannot be classified by reference to the GRI 3A are to be classified as if they consist of the component which give them their essential character. GRI 3C provide that when good cannot be classified by reference to GRI 3A or 3B, they are to be classified in the heading that occur last in the numerical order among the competing headings, which equally merit consideration. Considering the importance of the twisters to the activity of ROM grooming, and that no one item provide the essential character, so GRI 3V does not apply neither. Thus, the scissor of heading 8213 will provide the classification to the set as they occur last in numerical order in comparison to the twisters GRI 3C note. This would be the full logic process to consider this set as an example of the application of Rule 3C. But it must also be said that there may be variation in the interpretation depending on the country where these rules are applied, because even when there are instances of analysis, even in the World Customs Organization itself, where explanatory notes and issues and there are special commission to analyze classification matters, in the application of this rule there will always be a degree of subjectivity, and therefore there are discrepancies not only between importers or customs brokers and custom authority of the different countries, but also there are discrepancies between customs service of different countries. And for this reason, there are mechanisms for resolving conflict both nationally and internationally for discrepancies in the tariff classification. Well, let's see the following classification rule. Rule number 4, the fourth general rule of interpretation. The rule number 4 provides that goods, which, for example, because they have newly appeared on the world market, of the global market, are not specifically covered by any heading of the harmonized system, shall be classified in the heading appropriate to the goods to which they are most akin. Kinship can depend of many factors such as description, character, purpose. So when no one of these rules could be used, which is highly unlikely, you will classify this product under the heading of the good to which they are most akin. If you are in this case, which is highly doubt, be sure to compare the items with similar goods and use factors such as description, character, or purpose. Ask yourself, what does this resemble or look like? Does it remind you of another item or the other position that can be found in the tariff? In summary, this rule only come into consideration when all of the resources offered by the first three rules, 1, 2, and 3, have been exhausted, and only after having gone through all of the heading of the nomenclature and having read all section and chapter note, uh, the use of the use of the rule was established when the harmonized system was created. So, because At that time, it was a matter of grouping all existing products into a more than 2,000 initial tariff heading. But if for some reason any product will be left out because it doesn't exist yet at that moment, uh, then it will be classified with this rule. Uh, but the text of the heading and the note of section and chapters were very well done, that at least for me, and have not seen in practice that this rule is used. Therefore, I believe that if a product is ever classified on under this rule, it will arouse many doubts of suspicion from customs authorities. So the idea of this rule is that the product must be classified in the heading of the product that presents the greatest analogy. That is, that is the one that is most similar, but having previously exhausted the previous rules 1, 2, and 3, so it has practically no application actually. Now let's see the next rule, rule 5. Our rule 5 has two parts. Letter A, which governs the classification of cases, boxes, and similar containers presented with the article for which they are intended, and the letter B, which applies more generally to packing container presented with the goods with the merchandise they hold. It should be noted that the classification of packing materials and containers not covered by these rules 5A or 5B is left to the discretion or decision of each particular country where it's applying this harmonized system. So every country may take whatever measures they consider appropriate for the classification of these containers. Uh, then, this rule is quite simpler than the previous ones. Its first part, letter A, referred to the cases, especially shaped or fitted to contain a product, and its second part is referred to the packaging material or packaging container. So rule 5 is for cases, especially made for a product and for packaging containers. As we already say, this part of rule 5, the letter A, exclusively refers exclusively to a group of articles that are sold in the cases, especially designed to contain them. A guitar, a violin, a saxophone are sold in their cases, as well as a pistol for collections and also sold in this case, especially designed to contain it. The same for fine necklace or bracelets or watches, which come in the original boxes. As you see in the pictures on the screen. The rules simply say that these cases are classified in the same heading as the product they contain because they are billed as part of the product sold. Then, if you buy a transverse float, you will be billed for the float include the case. But there is an exception. It must be kept in mind that this rule 5A does not apply when the container is what gives the product its essential character. For example, if you import cigarettes in a cigarette container which is made of 24K gold with inlay of diamonds, in these cases the fact that the product is made of gold and diamond and not the cigarettes is what gives the product its essential character. So in this case, the rule does not apply, and this container must be classified not together with the product, with the cigarette, not together with the cigarette, but separately as an article or jewelry in chapter 71. Well, to apply this rule, Rule 5A must meet some requirements. First, these containers are specially shaped or fitted to contain a specific article or set of articles. Second, the containers have to be suitable for long-term use. Third, the container is present with the article for which they are intended, whether or not this article are packed separately for convenience of transport. And finally, the container is kind normally sold with such articles. So I repeat, when you are in a case like this, please make sure that the container be classified under the heading or subheading for the imported product it is presented with. So if it's a violin case, just classify it with the violin it is presented with. And the container is specially shaped or fitted or suitable for long-term use. Is centered with the article for which they are intended. So, and it's kind normally sold therewith. Now, what happens if the requirement indicated by the rule are not met? Well, in this case, that the imported product is capable of repetitive use, the container will be classified in a separate uh, tariff heading, in a separate tariff code. For example, if a glass jar that contains candies, the jar will be classified separately from the contents. This is because the glass jar contain, contains capable is capable of repetitive use, and therefore will be classified separately from the candies. Both products will carry separate tariff codes. Let's see now letter B of this rule 5, and this is very simple. GRI 5B states that packaging containers and materials not normally intended to be reused are classified with the imported product that they are presented with. For example, if we are classifying a cereal in a cardboard box, the cardboard box is not normally intended to be reused, so this is classified with this cereal. Other example, a toothpaste in a tube. In this case, should the toothpaste tube be classified separately? Well, the toothpaste tube, which of course is included in the value of the toothpaste, is for sure not normally intended to be reused. Therefore, this toothpaste tube is classified as a toothpaste. Another example, what happens if we import juice or vegetables in drums and barrels, and after the import, these containers are not used for shipping purposes, but are used to trash cans and storage bins in a warehouse. Well, in this case, as the use of juice and vegetable container as trash and storage bin after importation, this is not a repetitive use pursuant to the GRI 5. So in this case, this container do not meet the criteria for repetitive use. Well, we come to the last rule. This rule is actually not a rule like the previous one, since Rule 6 exists only to indicate that all the previous rules that were applied to find the correct heading for our merchandise, now they must also be used to find the corresponding subheading to finish our classification process. Specifically, Rule 6 provides that classification in the subheading of a heading must be determined mutatis mutandi. Mutatis mutandi means the necessary change have been made. It's a Latin expression. So the classification in the subheading of a heading must be determined mutatis mutandi with reference to the principles applicable to classification in the four-digit headings. In any event, the term of the subheading or subheading note must be given precedence. So all this means that you have to apply the previous rules also When, after you have found the correct heading, also to find now the correct subheading. This rule also specifies that, we already said this before, for classification purpose, only subheading of the same level are comparable. This means that within a single heading, the choice of a of a an one Dutch subheading have to be done only on the basis of the text of the competing one Dutch subheadings as well. The same for the selection of the appropriate two Dutch subheading where necessary. Have to be done only on the basis of the text of the subdivision within the applicable two Dutch subheading, and so on for three Dutches and four Dutches, etc. So, in summary, we already said this before too. You must only compare at the same subheading level, one Dutch with one Dutchess subheadings, two Dutches with two Dutch subheadings, three Dutches with three Dutches, and so on. But it's better that this is better to see it in an example. Here we have a product on an invoice that say that we will import the whole frozen chickens for human consumption. The first things we do is review, just as a help, as a reference, the list of sections, reviewing the titles to see if this can give us a help and orientation. Here we see that the first section, live animal products, could contain the chapter that correspond to our merchandise. Therefore, we will review in more detail what chapter 1 to 5 says. Well, here are chapter 1 to 5. Chapter 1 says live animals. Chapter 2 say meat and edible meat offal. It's in here our merchandise could be. Chapter 3 refer to aquatic animal. It's not. The chapter 4 are animal product, and chapter 5 other animal product. It seems we should take a deeper review of chapter 2. Remember, this review is for orientation only. The text with legal force to support a classification decision are the text of the heading and subheading and the legal note and section, legal note of sections and chapters. Okay, let's see which are the headings that are included in chapter 2 of this section 1. Well, there are several headings, but here for the purpose of this example, there are some more relevant. We can see the heading 0201 for fresh beef, the heading 0202 for beef but frozen, the 0203 for swine, 0204 sheep and goat, 04 0205 horses, 07 for poultry of heading 0105, 0208 for others, and this is a generic heading. Let's review the 0207. It appears this could correspond because it's mentioned in poultry of heading 0105. Let's see. So here is it. The text of the heading 0207 says that this heading corresponds to meat and edible offal of the poultry of heading 0105, fresh, chill, or frozen. Our product is frozen, do you remember? We only have to check what corresponds to the heading 0105 mentioned in the text. And if we see above on the screen, this heading refers to foals of the species Gallus domesticus. Here we have to remember the importance of doing a previous study of the goods before starting looking for the correct tariff code. We know because we saw in a previous lesson that the species Gallus domesticus is the scientist's name of chickens. This is a scientific code. for this kind of animal that we know as a chicken? Well, it appears that we already have a heading which text correspond very well with our product, whole, no cuts, frozen chicken. We only miss one very important thing, and this is review the legal notes. Never forget this. The classification is legally based on the text of the heading and the legal note of section and chapters. That maybe this any some of the legal note can apply to our merchandise. We have to start again for the process with the process of classification. So let's go to review them. Here are the section and chapter note corresponding to the heading that we believe is that one that correspond to our merchandise. See the section note first. Here are two notes. One refers to the heading included in the section, which are of animal, also referred to them when they are young. We also saw this when we classify a chick in a previous lesson. The other section notes refer to dried product. It does not seem to have relation with our product. So now let's see the notes for the chapter 2. Here we have a note, an exclusive note saying us what we cannot classify here. This letter A of this chapter note say that this chapter does not cover, in other words, you cannot classify here product from the heading 0201 to 02 or 08. Our candidate is called our candidate is called 0207. So it seems we should carefully review this note 1A of chapter 2 because our heading 0207 is mentioned here. Let's see the note say that our product, which is classified in code 0207 and others, cannot be included in this chapter 2, when they are unfit or unsuitable for human consumption. Well, it seemed we were in a good way. Our product is fit and suitable for human consumption. Then we pass on this and continue for the rest of this exclusion note. Remember that if this exclusion note excludes our product from this chapter, we should start again and see what is the heading to that really correspond to our merchandise. But let's continue. The letter V of this note refer to no living insects. The letter C mentioned goats, leather of stomachs of animal. This is not our case. And the last, the letter T, refer to animal fat. Then it doesn't refer to our correct candidate, and now on 0207. Okay, it seems that we already we have read the note that correspond to the heading 0207 very well. Note of chapters and for section 1, chapter 2 on the section 1, and we have confirmed that our heading is the correct, applying our rule 1, that is based on the text of the heading and the legal note of section and chapters. Now we have found supposedly the correct heading. Note that rule 1 has been sufficient to do this. We only needed to be carefully reading the text of the headings and the legal notes carefully as well to find our heading. Most of the time when we are classifying it will be this way. You will only need the text of the heading and the section and chapter notes to find the heading code. But as soon as the products are becoming more complex, I mean, when they are in a more advanced section of chapters, it is more likely that this is not enough, and we have to use the next rule 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending up to the case. But well, now once we have found the heading, we should find now the subheading. This is our next step. Then we have to review the subheading that are within this heading 0207. We see that There are many of them. Then at this point, we must remember what Rule 6 says, which is the same principles we use when you use the same rule we used to find the heading 0207. Now we must use them to find the subheading corresponding to our product. But we must also remember that the other statement of rule 6, we say that comparison should be made between subheading of the same level, one dash with one dash first, and then or two dashes with two dashes, and so on. Then let's see. In this case, there are 5 subheading options to the first level with one dash. So we must first see at this level which one corresponds to our merchandise. We have for our heading 0207 first a first one dash division that refers to the species Gallus domesticus. It is marked with the first blue arrow there and on the screen, of all of the species Gallus domesticus in the beginning. Another option is for turkeys. You say there the second blue arrow, then ducks, then geese, and then guinea fowls. Well, this first level of comparison is easy, at least for those who have reviewed our first lesson of this harmonized system model. We know that Gallus domestico are for chickens. Then we select this option, the first one, and we are going to review now at the second level of comparison between the subheading that have two dashes within the option of one dash that we have already selected. Be careful here, the second level comparison is not between all the subheading of two dashes that the heading 0207 has, which in this case there are many, there are a lot, but among those subheading with two dashes that are the subdivision of the one dash option that we already have selected. Let's see this graphically. Okay, so within the option of a one dash that we already selected, we have 4 options more in the second level of selection. 4 options of 2 dashes to review, which correspond to our merchandise. Code 02071100, which correspond to Gallus domesticus not cut in pieces, fresh or chilled. The code 02011200, which correspond to Gallus domesticus not cut in pieces, frozen. This seems to correspond, but we should check all of them. The other option is code 02021300, a Gallus domesticus offal, fresh or chilled, and the last two dashes option we have is the subheading 02071400, which correspond to Gallus domesticus cut and offal frozen. Well, here also we only need to apply the principle of rule 1 now to find the subheading in rule 6. This means we did an exhaustive reading of the text of the subheading and an exhaustive reading of the legal notes. We didn't do it again, but we should always review them, all of them, as many times as we need during the classification process. Remember, rule 1, our main rule, a golden rule, say that we should base our classification of the text of headings and subheadings and of the section, chapter, and subheading legal notes. So then we can decide that our merchandise will be declared in the code 02071200. And we can, therefore, calculate the duties and taxes that are indicated for this code in the tariff code. Here we can see the rates that correspond to our code 02071200. It seems they are quite significant, but well, we will review this in another module of our training program to calculating duties and taxes. Well, so okay, here is the list of the general rule of interpretation that we explain on this lesson. With a lot of practice and study, you will be able to resolve any doubts regarding custom classification. So here then we finish with the review of the subjects included in this lesson of the classification model. We understood why do we need rules. We saw a general review of the classification rules, and we review in detail, and we practice with the rules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so remember, please send us all your doubts and questions through our online platform Moodles, or using the message function, or send me an email to the address that is shown here on the screen. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and see you on the next lesson.